The Art of Annie Lee, next on Black Nouveau. Hi, I'm Faithe Colas. Welcome to Black Nouveau. In addition to The Art of Annie Lee, we'll also chat with author Lynn Harris and profile Milwaukee's Columbia Savings and Loan. But first, the legendary Paul Robeson as interpreted by Paul Mabon. Everett Marshburn has more.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Paul Robeson's light was anything but little. An actor, athlete, author, and human rights advocate, he was one of the 20th century's true Renaissance men.
It's an understatement to say he was ahead of his time. In the 1930s and 40s, to have a black man with his picture over a movie house, doing major motion pictures where he wasn't dancing, or the stereotypes that blacks were playing in those days, playing characters of dignity, and also speaking many languages and traveling the world to Europe, Asia, and singing, doing concerts of Negro spirituals.
If you don't come, I'm gonna tell your daddy.
Robeson's accomplishments and tribulations are on display in an interview with Paul Robeson at the Next Act Theater. Mabon co-wrote the script and plays Paul Robeson.
My first play about Paul was years ago in Chicago, and I felt back then that you couldn't portray Paul without showing him at his best, and that was Othello. I think that's one of his crowning achievements.
My services which I have done the Signory shall outtongue his complaints. For know Iago, but that I love the gentle Desdemona. I would not my unhoused free condition put into circumscription and confine for the sea's worth. But look, what lights come yon.
Those are the raisin father and his friends. You were best go in.
Not I must be found. My parts, my title, my perfect soul shall manifest me rightly.
The play was written by David Cesarini, John Kishline, and myself. My particular interest as far as script writing was Paul's family. The influence his father had on him from a youth through the 60 years, which is the age he is during the play.
I was the youngest of 5. Ours was the responsibility to live up to our potential, no matter the circumstances. And he gave us the faith and the belief that we could, and that is determination. The will coupled with the belief, and he gave us that.
Did it come from his religion?
That's it. We had him, but who did my father have? He had faith in someone greater than him. Someone who he had never touched or seen, but yet had cradled him, protected him, showed him the way to freedom, taught him honor, dignity, perseverance, values that would sustain him all his life. Stand firm. My father would say to me, stand firm, son, in your beliefs, for you are protected by the man who watches over me.
And Robeson did stand firm for his beliefs.
Paul fought for the rights of black Americans and working people, oppressed people all over the world, women, people of all cultures. Mr. Robeson, being such a prolific movie star and concert artist, he would travel the world to Spain and Russia and other countries, and during his concert, he would tell these other countries about the treatment of Negro people in the United States. And that the United States obviously took offense to that and asked him to stop. Of course, he didn't, and that's why they had to stop him. And they labeled him a communist because of his ties with Russia.
Are you now a member of the Communist Party?
Now, what is the Communist Party? What do you mean by that? As far as I know, it's a legal party like the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. So do you mean belonging to a group of communists or belonging to a party of people who have sacrificed for my people and all Americans that they can live in dignity? Do you mean that party?
Are you now a member of the Communist Party?
Would you like to come to the polls when I vote and take out my ballot and see?
It's a tragedy that someone so powerful and so once loved by this country and considered at one time America's favorite son, the highest paid actor in America for 10 years, can all of a sudden be wiped from the record books. And that is a tragedy, but he held his head high all during this time and stuck to his beliefs. And that's what the play is about, trying to educate and entertain. As he was an entertainer, we do a lot of his songs. We talk about a lot of his songs and how they became about.
There is a balm in Gilead that makes the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul.
Meet E. Lynn Harris as he visits with fans at Milwaukee's Cultural Connection bookstore. Harris has been writing for 12 years and has now published 12 books, his latest being I Say a Little Prayer. His fans had the opportunity to take pictures and ask questions. They started with questions about his many characters, which he said were all fictitious, and was asked if any of the stories were from his own experiences.
They're novels, but you know, no writer, I think, worth his or her salt don't take from their own life experiences. That's more from the first novel. You know, a lot of people, you know, base their first novels on their own lives, but for me, I don't use my friends. I don't use actual experiences that I've actually had. It's just, you know, the creative process that I've been so blessed with.
Other questions? How did you know what you wanted to do?
Well, I started writing out of depression, quite frankly, and once I came through that, I decided I wanted to do something that I was willing to do for free, or that I would have a lot of joy about, and it turned out to be writing. So, you know, depression in a lot of ways, brought about my writing career, and I realized that I was very, very passionate about writing, and then all these different stories started to come for me, and have continued through 9 novels and a memoir.
Another question. How do you think your writings have had an effect on others coming out with books with gay characters? Now we have books about download brothers. How do you think you influenced that, because people didn't talk about it until your books?
Well, you know, I don't take credit for the whole download movement, because I think that's something that's been media induced, if you will. When I wrote Invisible Life, I just told the story that I needed to tell at that time. Hopefully, the success of my books have made it easier for other, people to get published, not only writing about gay or bisexual characters, but just African Americans in general. Let me read a little bit from I Say a Little Prayer. This book came to me at a small church in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and that's where I teach school, and some friends of mine had invited me to go to that church, and I had turned them down numerous times because I just don't go to church anymore. My faith is the most important thing in my life, but I just figured out another way to do it, so I don't really go to church because I was really tired of the mega churches and what have you. And so I went to this church this one Sunday, and I was really taken aback by the love that I felt once I walked into this church. It was just really, really warm and really, really wonderful. Kind of reminded me of this place, a small place where people that are there bring you a lot of love. And it just reminded me of the churches that I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. And it reminded me what I missed about church and why church was so important to me.